Hey everyone, I'm back, and today we're going to be talking about The Seventh Continent. And this movie is directed by Michel Haneke, and it came out in 1989. And it's the earliest film that I've seen from him as of recording this. I've seen a lot of movies that he released after this point, both versions of Funny Games, which I really enjoyed, Benny's Video, and The Piano Teacher, The White Ribbon, Cache, Amour. Really great films, especially the films he released in the 2000s decade. Code Unknown I enjoyed overall, which is my least favorite, but still I like it. And this film I enjoyed. It has everything that I love about his movies in it. And I love the lack of music in this movie. There's like one scene in this movie that does have music in it, like in the scene, and not just a part of the film's universe. But it never detracted from the experience I felt, and it just felt a bit different from what I'm used to, and that's pretty much where it starts and ends there. And I love the presentation of this film. I love how this movie looks, and every shot is done so with intent, and the way information and characters are presented I also love. The acting, from what I could tell, was great. And there's some really memorable scenes, and the whole movie is pretty much a huge build-up to the end. And without getting into spoilers, that's pretty much what it is. And I was enjoying the build-up for the most part. And this movie is very slow, and it has a lot of scene transitions where when it's ending a scene and transitioning into the next scene, we just have a fade to blacks. And I don't remember that being a part of his other films. I could be mistaken about that, but from what I can remember, that wasn't a thing in something like Funny Games or The White Ribbon or Cache. I could be wrong about that, but that's just how it's sitting in my memory. One of my criticisms would be not necessarily the fade to black fade in from black, but rather there were a couple points where scenes were really short. Like one example is just the main woman staring out the window, and that scene is like literally 30 seconds, and then it cuts to black, and I'm like, okay, did that really need to be in the movie? And there are parts of this movie where I do feel as though some shots go on for too long to where they kind of lose the effect a little bit. And they're also a little too short to where, okay, the fade to black is getting a little annoying at this point. Like, I feel as though if this movie was just a little bit shorter, I feel as though it would have helped the film overall, like 10, 15 minutes could have been trimmed. Because I just don't feel as though some things needed to happen in the way that they did. And I do like this movie's approach on information and how it's presented. And it doesn't flat out tell you everything that's going on in these characters. It's more or less presented in the sense where, and I'm going to give you an example here. You know how in a Coen Brothers movie, say Burn After Reading, I'm going to use that as an example, where each individual character doesn't have the full context of what's going on, but we as the audience know everything that's going on because of what we're shown. But these characters only have pieces of the full story of what's going on. In this movie, it's kind of the opposite, where the characters have all the information and they know what's going on, but we as the audience don't get the full picture. We have pieces, but not everything. But at the very least, we have just enough to get an understanding of what's going on, and eventually it is revealed as to what the movie is building up to and what it's eventually leading towards. I like all of that, and that's a unique structure for sure. That's one thing that I can say about Michel Haneke's films is that they have ways of making you feel things in ways that's different. Like I can say I watched something unique and different than what I'm normally used to. Like, I'm glad that I'm able to watch something different. And that's what I got from this movie. But I would say that another issue that I have with this movie, and I'm not sure if a lot of people are going to agree with me on this one, is that I feel as though the ending to this movie, I liked what it was on paper, but in execution, Not saying that it was bad, but rather it just left no impact on me and just left some things to be desired. And I do feel as though that is a running problem with this director's films that was pre The Piano Teacher. Like, consistently speaking, I do feel as though the endings, for the most part, were just a little weak. And I just felt no impact from the ending for the most part, or just left more to be desired, or just stands out as something that, yeah, that could have been handled better. And the things that I do appreciate about this director's films are found in this movie, for sure. But one thing that I will say about it is there were moments in this movie where I was a bit confused as to what I was supposed to be following. And what I mean by that is that there were shots that were just lingering on barely anything happening. And I was like, okay, there's nothing really for me to figure out what's going on. And eventually you do find out, oh, that's what it was building towards. But I just felt as though it was a bit absent of substance in ways. There's a lot that I do love about this movie. Like, I do feel as though the climax, for the most part, is pretty great and gives you something to hold on to, and really you do feel impacted by the emotions going towards it. And it gives you just enough to keep you engaged, and lots of stuff that I liked about it. I can't really say here because that would be spoiler territory, but most of the movie I loved. And there were some clever filmmaking choices that I do love that I also can't get into. And that's about all I have to say about The Seventh Continent. I do love this movie. I think it's great. I wouldn't recommend starting with this movie if you've never seen a Michelle Haneke film. I would recommend starting with something like Amour, The White Ribbon, or Cachet, maybe The Piano Teacher. And I would have to see more of his films to figure out, yeah, you should start with that one. That's the one you should start with. Like, one of those three that I just mentioned, or four, I think are great movies to start out with. But some of his earlier stuff before The Piano Teacher, or even either a version of Funny Games, don't start with those. I would not recommend that. They're great movies, but they're just a bit more difficult to get into, in my opinion. So check this movie out whenever you get the chance, and with all that being said, I'm going to give The Seventh Continent an 8 out of 10. Thank you for watching my videos. As always, if you enjoyed this review, be sure to leave a like and comment down below you thought of The Seventh Continent, and my social media links, they will all be in the description, so follow me there. And last but not least, subscribe to be a part of Foley Nation, and I'll see when I get my next review up, and that is going to be for Batman Mask of the Phantasm. So look forward to that, but until I get that up, thank you for watching and have a great day.